The communications array crackled with static before the message cut through, desperate and clear. Queen Velara of the Threnody Empire transmitted her plea across every frequency, her voice carrying the weight of a dying civilization. Her world burned, her people scattered, and the Craven Armada encircled her last stronghold like hungry predators sensing weakness. Captain James Rivera stood on the bridge of the UNSC Defiant, his jaw tight as he listened to the transmission replay for the third time. The alien queen spoke in broken English, a language she had learned from intercepted human broadcasts, her words stumbling over unfamiliar consonnations. "Please, anyone, we fought. We cannot fight more. They come, they kill. Children die. Please." The bridge fell silent. Navigation Officer Lisa Park looked up from her console, her eyes reflecting the same conflict that churned in every crew member's gut. They were 3 weeks from home, running a routine patrol along the outer rim. This was not their fight. The Threnody were unknown to humanity until 6 hours ago, when their distress signal reached the Defiant's long-range scanners. "Sir, I'm reading 17 Craven warships in orbit around the planet," Lieutenant Marcus Cole reported from Tactical. "They're bombarding the surface. Heavy casualties estimated." James clenched his fists. He had read the intelligence reports on the Craven. Slavers, butchers, a species that carved through the outer territories, leaving nothing but ash and chains in their wake. The United Nations Space Command had standing orders to avoid engagement with superior forces. 17 warships qualified as superior. How many ships do they have against them? James asked, though he already suspected the answer. Scans show 3 Threnody vessels still operational. One appears to be a civilian transport. They're outgunned 10-1, sir. The Kung channel opened again. This time, the Queen's voice cracked with desperation. "My daughters, please, they are young. They do not deserve this. If you hear, if anyone hears, come." James closed his eyes. He thought of his own daughter back on Earth, safe in her mother's arms. He thought of his oath, sworn before he took command, to protect humanity and uphold the principles of justice and mercy. Some principles transcended species. "All hands to battle stations," James ordered, his voice cutting through the tension like a blade. "Spin up the FTL drive. Plot a course for the Threnody homeworld. And someone get me a firing solution on those Craven ships." Lisa's head snapped up. "Sir, we're one ship. Then we better make it count." James turned to face his crew. "I won't order anyone to follow me on this. It's not our fight, and command will have my head for this. But that woman down there is begging for her children's lives, and I'll be damned if I let bureaucracy decide whether they live or die. Anyone who wants to transfer to an escape pod has 60 seconds. The bridge crew exchanged glances. Not a single person moved toward the exits. Marcus grinned, his fingers already dancing across the tactical console. 1 ship against 17. The Craven are going to be so surprised. "They're going to be more than surprised," James replied. "They're going to learn why you don't mess with Earth's children, and why we don't abandon mothers calling for help." The Defiant lurched into faster-than-light travel, reality bending around its hull as it raced toward a world it had no strategic interest in defending. But humanity had learned something in its brief and violent journey to the stars. Power without principle was tyranny. Strength without compassion was savagery. And sometimes, the right thing to do was also the hardest. 20 minutes later, the Defiant dropped out of FTL space directly above the Threnody homeworld. The planet's surface glowed with fires visible from orbit. Craven bombardment had reduced cities to rubble. James felt rage coil in his chest, cold and sharp. "Target the lead Craven capital ship," he ordered. "Fire all forward railguns. The Defiant's main weapons spoke with thunder. Tungsten slugs, accelerated to a fraction of light speed, tore through the void and slammed into the Craven flagship's shields. The barrier held, but the impact sent ripples of energy cascading across its surface. 17 sets of targeting sensors swiveled toward the human vessel. "They see us now," Marcus announced cheerfully, receiving multiple target locks. "Sir, they're hailing us. Ignore them. Lisa, evasive pattern Delta. Take us into low orbit over the Queen's position." The Defiant dove toward the planet, its fusion engines screaming. Craven plasma bolts lanced through space, superheated death seeking the human ship. Lisa's hands flew across her controls, the Defiant twisting and rolling like a dancer, dodging incoming fire with margins measured in meters. "Get me a channel to the Queen," James commanded. Seconds later, Queen Valara's face appeared on the main screen. She was humanoid, her features delicate and crowned with what looked like bioluminescent feathers that had dimmed to almost nothing. Her eyes, large and golden, widened as she saw James. "You came," she whispered. "You heard. We heard, Your Majesty. We're going to get you out of there. How many people are in your stronghold?" 3,000. Maybe less now. Her voice steadied, drawing strength from hope. "The children are in the deep shelters. If you can buy us time, we can evacuate to the transport. You'll have your time. Marcus, target those bombardment positions. I want every Craven gun pointed at the surface turned into scrap." The Defiant's weapons batteries opened up, a symphony of destruction. Missiles streaked downward, seeking the Craven artillery emplacements. Railguns hammered at the ships in orbit, forcing them to break off their attack, runs to engage the human vessel. The void erupted into chaos. The Defiant, smaller and faster than the Craven warships, darted between them like a shark among whales. It couldn't match their firepower, but it could make them afraid. Every shot that missed the human ship risked hitting another Craven vessel. James forced them into a sphere, using their own numbers against them. "Shields at 40%, Marcus called out as a plasma bolt clipped their port side. "Hull breach on deck 7, another voice added. Damage control teams responding. James ignored the reports, his focus absolute. On the planet below, he could see the Threnody transport lifting off, its engines glowing blue against the burning landscape. Thousands of lives crammed into a ship meant for hundreds, fleeing toward the stars. A Craven cruiser moved to intercept. "No," James growled. "Marcus, everything we have. Hit that cruiser." The Defiant's entire arsenal spoke as one. Railguns, missiles, and the experimental plasma lance that the engineers had installed last month, all converged on a single point. The Craven cruiser's shields collapsed. Its armor buckled, and then it died, breaking apart in a bloom of fire and debris. The transport slipped past the wreckage, climbing toward safety. "Sir, we're being surrounded," Lisa warned. "I can't dodge them all." James knew. He had known from the moment he gave the order to intervene. The Defiant was dying. Shields were gone. Half the weapons were offline. The Craven closed in, sensing victory.com channel opened again. Queen Valara's face reappeared, tears streaming down her features. "You saved them. You saved my children. Why? We are nothing to you." James smiled, even as his ship shuddered under another impact. "Because that's what we do. That's what humanity does. We show up. Then let me show you what the Threnody do," the Queen replied. "We remember our debts." The space around the Defiant suddenly filled with new contacts. James's sensors lit up with dozens, and hundreds of ships dropping out of FTL, not warships. Civilian vessels, cargo haulers, private yachts. Every Threnody ship that could mount a weapon or ram an enemy, and they all dove toward the Craven. Fleet with absolute fury, the Craven had come to slaughter a helpless species. Instead, they found themselves drowning in an ocean of rage. The Threnody fought with the desperation of those who had nothing left to lose, and the courage of those defending their young. Ships exploded on both sides, the void becoming a graveyard. But the tide turned. One by one, the Craven warships fell. Outmatched by numbers, overwhelmed by determination, the survivors fled into FTL, leaving their dead behind. Queen Velara stood in the ruins of her palace, watching the stars. The human ship hung in orbit, battered and scarred, but intact. Her people had won, bought with blood and the intervention of strangers who became saviors. James received her transmission one final time. Captain Rivera, humanity has earned the eternal friendship of the Threnody Empire. We will not forget this day. We will not forget that you came when we called. And if ever humanity calls, we will answer. On this I swear by my crown and my children's future. James nodded, exhaustion finally catching up to him. Just doing what's right, Your Majesty. Safe travels. The Defiant turned toward home, carrying its crew and a story that would echo through the galaxy. The story of a desperate mother's plea. The story of humans who chose mercy over caution. The story of why humanity, despite all its flaws, had earned its place among the stars. Because when the universe was dark and cold, humans were the ones who showed up with fire and hope. And they always would.